Hi everyone, I am today with Joanna in Poland and she has some questions about education. She is a teacher and she homeschools her children also and others' children. And she is not very happy about the public education system. So she wanted to have a conversation. And how are you, Joanna? Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Hello, Rehan. Yes, I have a few questions. I just wanted to see what are the differences maybe between Polish education and what you guys do in Pakistan or just people everywhere in the world. So, but my first question was, why are you so interested in all those educational projects around the world? Why are you interested, and what kind of knowledge you get from them?
Why,
You know,
why am I
I see
interested?
on Facebook there are lots of projects. You post lots of stuff about education, how to change it. So, why do you think it's interesting?
Well, the goal I have made for myself 10 years ago is to create abundance in health, wealth, and happiness for everyone. Which means, and I had before this, I had a goal that everybody in the world should make at least $300 a month. For countries like Pakistan, it is good money, but for your country, you can say minimum $1,000 a month so that people can have basic needs met. And that was something I made a goal for myself. So education is probably the only way to do it, because if I try to tell you something which you don't understand, you will hit me instead of trying to follow me. So the goal is to understand what other people think and try to do it so that people would actually want to do it and understand
Yeah.
them and evolve. So for example, you are not happy with the Polish education system, and whatever the reason there is, the challenge is that nobody, after going to many conferences and talking to many professors, the challenge is that nobody wants to change, and because nobody wants to change, you don't want to change, Rehan doesn't want to change. Anybody, when you offer change to people, you have an ego inside which it wants you not to change. And I just made another video about this, that why do people get angry. So for example, if I impose my value system on you, you will be very angry, and you will do extreme things to stay away from me, because you don't want your value system to be spoiled by my value system. That's why people drift apart and they come closer, because you have similar value system. But the thing is, if you if and the problem with the education system is that it was designed a long time ago, before there was internet, before there was a smartphone, before there was YouTube, before there was edX, before there was a web browser. And the challenge is that all the professors and all the people who are teaching in these universities don't like the smartphone, don't like the internet, don't like YouTube, they hate Facebook. So how can you even tell them? Nobody can tell them that you should use these technologies rather than fight them. Right now they are accepting, but up till a few years ago they were still in the hate mode. They, instead of liking and using these technologies, they're like, these are shitty technologies and they will destroy the world, stay away from them. Still there are people in the world who are professors and maybe 60 plus, they don't want to use a smartphone. They will break it if you give it to them. They hate it so much. So towards my project, I created this small little device a few years ago, and it is called the Rehan School project. And Rehan School this is a stupid phone. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know where my camera went.
It's fine. I can see, so everybody can.
Okay, so this is a stupid phone. Inside it was a $15 box, and inside there was a camera, a mobile phone, videos by celebrities who were people we knew in Pakistan, like common faces, like imagine Angelina Jolie, Tom Cruise teaching. And the concept was that 2 billion people in the world don't know how to read and write. So we wanted to teach them how to read and write. And nobody has ever made a movie about teaching. Nobody has ever made a movie that if you watch the movie for 1.5 hours, you will know maths, science, basic poems, ABCD poem, Baba Black Sheep. You can do this. You can make a movie. Somebody can make a movie that if you watch for an hour and a half, you end up knowing Baba Black Sheep, if that is important, Baba Black Sheep, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, all those things we can embed inside the movie, like old time movies where people movies had songs. So for example, look, an Indian movie has 5 songs, so those 5 songs can be poems, so people can end up learning by watching movies. So we are now giving our children devices, but the content they're consuming is designed, it's not using proper pedagogy, proper teaching methods. So my idea was to make this device, and now it has stopped because all the phones are now smart. We don't need a stupid phone anymore. So now the stupid smartphones are also cheap. Huh?
What year did you start that?
This I started maybe 2012 or 13. And this was very early time of smartphone, and there was no 4G, there was no high-speed internet. But now WhatsApp is there, high-speed internet is there everywhere, and 5G is coming. So now we have an app which basically talks to you, and you can talk, and it teaches you English and how to speak in certain ways. Then if you have a smartphone, if you have a built-in on this any phone, you can now say, okay Google, who is the Prime Minister of Pakistan? So Google will tell you what is the answer. Right? So these devices should be in every classroom. Okay Google, volume 9. So it even speaks Hindi, it speaks Polish, it speaks Russian, it speaks French, it speaks every language. And so these devices are the next generation of teachers. So schools are still trying to teach, remember this, memorize this, remember this, memorize this, and it's stupid what they're doing with the children. It's not, you don't need to remember everything. And anything which you can Google, or you have a device with you, or I'm sure in 10 years we will have an implant which we can just think and we will know. It's not very far away. The last 2 years ago, Facebook demonstrated that you wear this thing on your head and you don't need to type anymore. You can think and it can type. And you can, in the data and the science says that you can transmit 4 simultaneously movies at the same time using the brain waves coming out of your head. So the speed of the transmission from our head is so fast that we will not need to type or do anything anymore. Just we can think and it'll happen. So you can say telepathy, but this is using technologies, not necessarily telepathy. You have to, it's another topic, but everybody can do it. Not everybody is telepathic, but or we don't teach our children to be telepathic, but that's something which is in the spooky category still. But in the science category, people don't want to. So anyway, science is very, is changing everything. So these devices which I just use are now $20. So now a $20 device can speak with you, with your children, and answer any question in the world which you have. The smartest teacher on the planet cannot answer all my questions, but these stupid devices for $20 or $30 can answer any questions I have. So the thing which we were killing in our children, which is called curiosity, instead of killing it, we can harness it. And instead of teaching stupid information, we can teach them meditation, we can teach them hygiene, we can teach them how to cook well, eat well, exercising. And then when they are 12 years old or 11 years old, or when they're old enough to start researching, they can start actually solving real world problem at the very young age. And at that very young age, they can start learning. So for example, if your son has interested in water or in garbage or in energy, so he can start researching using YouTube every single day for 6 hours a day about water. So for example, they say water is a big problem. I don't think it's a big problem, because we have millions of heads not learning about water. So if we actually took 100 brains and gave them 6 hours of YouTube every day to research about water, they will know how to desalinate the water in maybe 2-3 years in almost no cost, because there is technology available. And not only learn, but my process is that you learn for 2 hours, and then you teach for 20 minutes, then you learn for 2 hours, then you teach for 20 minutes, and teach on YouTube, just like we are doing right now. And that will create a spiral effect of growth of information in all the languages and all the space. Right now, you have to be a PhD in order to do research in water, blah blah blah. You have to go to college and university to research. You don't. You can just sit at home and do it. So this is the kind of school I have imagined, and I shared a video, and it had subtitles on it, I think, where it's a learning center where the children go to actually do research and solve real world problems and become master at it. Imagine a child which is 12 learning for 10 years about water and do nothing else. He will be like better than Einstein in water.
Not coming. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you think this is the ideal school, the school of future, the future school?
So
You want to be here?
Cześć.
Cześć. It was my son.
Say cześć to tata.
Go. Bye bye.
Say cześć to tata.
I asked him not to come, but the young one is not listening much.
No problem. So I think this
So
is one model. Nobody knows exactly what is the right way. That's a big problem right now, because you go to anyone, they really don't know what to do, so they get stuck in the past. It's not that they like it. It's not, no professor I meet likes it. But the challenge is that the system is slow to change, and they're all stuck in a system. Now, it will take some time. We're going through an evolution. It's like puberty. Nobody knows. Everybody's going crazy. What to do? It's just an evolution in time where nobody actually knows what is right, what is wrong. So you can just stick to what you have, or you can create new things.
Would you give a computer to a 4-year-old? I don't know if he's not addicted. He doesn't have a phone.
My children are all addicted.
Or maybe we just imagine it's addiction. Maybe that's how the future will look like. I don't know.
I imagine
Nobody knows.
Addiction, because there is a belly coming out and there is no muscle. So that's not a good sign.
So that's a problem.
Yeah.
Mm. And is this school like this exist anywhere? Because I saw your movies, this project, the big project, but it was mainly for kind of. I think they wanted a high school and university. Now I don't see any project like that for primary school.
So there is a school
Like what
in
to do
Amsterdam, and it's called.
kindergarten children.
There is a school in Amsterdam, and it's called the Steve Jobs School. You can Google it. Then there is another school in Silicon Valley. It has also very few students. It's called the Khan Academy Labs. And then there are other schools all over the globe which are kind of like this, and they're all experimental. One of the schools my children go to is also kind of experimental. It started as an academy, but it has become now a school, and my children are very confused. Am I in an academy? Am I in a school? The teachers think it's a school. The principal thinks it's an academy. It's a learning center. So because, as I said, it's an evolution, nobody actually knows what the right way is. So we will have a very confused, curious society, which is not a bad thing after all, because they will be curious, they will be constantly wanting to become better. It's not like, oh, you have a stamp now, you're a master degree holder, okay, go get a job. It's better than that.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that anymore.
It doesn't work like that anymore. Exactly.
You don't get the job if you're PhD.
Exactly.
Nowadays.
Yep. So I actually dislike PhD, because these PhDs are taught to, most schools are teaching to not share their information, but keep it private and closed group, and it has to be published in a certain magazine. I tell everyone to publish everything on YouTube and blog about it and put it on the internet, so that everybody can take advantage of the information. Whereas like a few months ago, I met 1,200 PhDs who didn't have a job. And these 1,200 PhDs, what I was upset about them was that they have spent 22 years studying. They don't even know how to find money for themselves. They don't know how to solve a single problem in the technologically enabled world. If they were doing what I'm asking them to do, they would become very, very valuable human beings, and people will give them a lot of money because they actually know something. They have something to show for. What they're saying is, you hire us, and 3 years later we may show you something, which nobody will. The risk is very high. But if you, for example, start teaching what you already know, your value becomes higher and higher, because now people can see what you have to offer, and then they can pick you up and take advantage of you. But it's not going to happen overnight. It's an evolution. As I said, YouTube is the biggest depository of information now, not libraries. I met a boy yesterday who has seen over 1,000 programming videos on YouTube. He doesn't have high-speed internet, and he has downloaded. He goes to an area where there is internet, downloads them, watches them on the phone. He's 20 years old, making games. And yesterday he said, "Can I tell you my dream?" I said, "What is your dream?" He said, "I want to make a school where nobody has to remember anything and they solve problem." I said, "Okay, fine, no problem. 6 months from now, if you do what I'm asking you, I'll hire you and I'll make you open that school, no problem." But it's a mix. You can't. It's challenging, because you have to convince the parents, you have to convince the parents of the parents, you have to convince the husbands of the parents, and so many factors are there to convince, because we are all scared of the unknown. Nobody knows. Saad, Abdullah, both of don't have these. He is 19 and 17. Both of them don't have a school degree even. They have not graduated from school. Now that is kind of scary, because both of them are like illiterate according to the society's standards. They have not even graduated high school. But Saad is designing his own city. He is working with an architect. He worked 3 days, built a whole. He gave me a whole plan how to build a city. He is not even high school graduate. So, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Abdullah made his own business about selling something. He's selling cars. He's fixing his motorcycles. He's doing all of these things. Now, are these kids educated or uneducated? And that society doesn't accept that. So, for example, if we apply for his visa to Dubai, he cannot get a visa because he doesn't have a high school degree. He cannot get an employment visa in Dubai because he doesn't have a high school degree. So yesterday I was watching, there is this a new movie called Think and Grow Rich, and it is about the book Think and Grow Rich. If you haven't read it, you should read it. You like books. So there was a case of Henry Ford versus Chicago Tribune, and Chicago Tribune published about Henry Ford. It's probably a factual. It probably happened that Henry Ford doesn't know anything. He was the one who changed the world, but the Chicago Tribune wrote that he doesn't know anything. And the court and they took him to court. He took him to the Chicago Tribune to court, and they were asking him to tell him who was the Attorney General 50 years ago. And nobody in the courtroom, including the judge, knew who was the Attorney General in the courtroom. And Henry Ford's reply was, I don't care who was the Attorney General in 50 years ago. I have hired somebody who remembers all that. I can press a button, he will come and tell me. That doesn't make me an ignorant person. But how many of you have invented an engine? How many of you invented a car factory? So the problem it's not like new. It's been there forever. Anybody who challenges anybody, the system, you will have problem. So I was hearing another speech yesterday. In 1620, somebody was killed by the government because he was publishing a book. So book publishing required a permit. You can't publish a book 400 years ago. Now I have 5 books. I don't have a permit from anyone. I just go ahead and publish them. So, but 400 years ago, if I would publish a book, I could be hanged without a permit. So the guy who invented the telescope was hanged by the church, saying that you are doing blasphemy. So it's always like this.
The church.
Excuse me?
That's the religion. The church was ruling Europe.
So
mainly
Renaissance
Catholic.
happened and things started to change. So what you and I are doing right now is kind of renaissance in education, and we are discussing something which is on everybody's head, but they don't know who to go to. A lot of people have started homeschooling because they're scared, but really they don't know what to do. But system has been like this. What happened to Edison? Edison was told he is not fit to study in a school. Doesn't have a good brain, and Edison invented the most things in the world. So and he was homeschooled. So again,
Many people were.
Yeah, many people who were super genius couldn't fit in the system because the system is required to create stupid people. It's required to create obedient citizens, not smart thinkers. So if you want your children to be great in the system, have an MBA, have a Toyota Corolla, have a decent middle class life, send them to school. If you want them to be super genius, billionaires, let them go and work something.
You answered all my questions without asking.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's perfect. Yeah, I'm kind of. I think people are. I'm scared. I think people are scared a little of technology. For example, I can't imagine any implants. I think it's dangerous. But for like Sugata Mitra in India, right? He did with this screen, right? So I think it's a good idea because the children work together. So
Sugata Mitra has been saying for 20 years now and people are still not hearing him. Ken Robinson is saying this for 20 years, nobody's listening. But there are still people who are listening. There is a school. If you watch Ken Robinson, he is still inspiring. So, you see, the challenge is you and I wanted to change the world in 1 year's time. It doesn't happen. It takes 20 years, 40 years, 50 years for change to happen. Now with the technology, it's already very fast, but it still takes, the culture has to change. It's not one person or two person. It takes a whole generation to change, and that requires time. And we are at the most interesting time in human history, where each individual has so much power to change and impact change that is unbelievable. That is totally possible if you follow the right crazy people, because crazy people are the ones who actually change the world, not normal people. Normal people want to stay normal. They don't want to do anything which is radical. So if you want to change, you follow Peter Diamandis, you follow Elon Musk, you follow Ken Robinson, Sugata Mitra. If you watch all their content, you will believe in yourself so much that you wouldn't be scared anymore, because once you understand that there are other crazy people like you out there, you're not the only one, then you don't feel as crazy as you might think yourself. So for example, over the last 5 years, I have learned not to be emotional, and emotions are a bad thing. Only last 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, I found there is a thing called Stoicism, which teaches you not to be emotional. And I was like, whoa, good. There are other crazy people who thinks the same thing. Okay, I can be more emotional. So basically, when you have a different idea, you're scared because there are not other people like you. But the Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube allows you to find, it's like fishing for the similar people. And all the similar people do is give you reassurance that you're not as crazy as you might think yourself, or others might think you as you are, but because you are different. And when you're different, most people will not understand you. But once you find similar-minded people, it's you do even more. You go even more crazy, because now you can trust yourself that it's the right path. And being crazy is not as crazy as we think it is.
I've heard that there is the epoch coming that will belong to people who are like a soul family, like thinking the same, but not really from the same country. And those people will change. What?
What is epoch?
Era. Time.
Yes, that's true.
No.
So Peter Diamandis will teach you that. I teach the same thing, that we must find our soul family. And it's easier to find our soul family now. Before, it was not easy to find our soul family. And with Facebook groups and WhatsApp groups and LinkedIn groups and videos, when you post a video about something and you watch the comments, you can find those people who are thinking like you. And you go and talk to them and you include them in your group. That makes you into like this. A single finger cannot do anything, but this fist can punch and break something. So initially it's hard, but as I said, with the power of Facebook, you can change your country, you can change your nation, you can change your world. All you need is 4 people who are crazy enough, and you can impact 1 billion people. It's just a lot of work, and it's just a process. It's a new process, which is evolving process. And if you watch content from Singularity University, they're teaching the same. My concept of teaching is the same, that we can use the entire ecosystem on the internet and take advantage of the knowledge out there, refine it, put it out there, learn again, refine it, put it out there. And just like you refine gold in multiple processes, you can refine information in multiple ways and create knowledge out of it. Any
Yeah,
questions?
I was also, yeah, do you know Krishnamurti? Because I was inspired by Ken Robinson, Sir Ken Robinson, but I also like Steiner and Krishnamurti because they are kind of they are agreeing that the creativity is important, technology, but also ethics, like values. You know, like that you have to develop your mind and your values. You have to be moral, responsible for the world, all this. So, do you think it's possible to kind of marriage the technology and values? I don't know. Should you teach that at school?
I think without
Do you know what I'm
values,
talking about?
I think
Religion. Is
I
the religion? Hmm?
I think no economy, no human can evolve unless they have the value system correct, unless their ethics are correct. If they are liars, fraudulent people, then or they will just die. The nation will just die. The people will just die. They will not evolve. So if you look at the poor people of the countries of the world, or the poor countries of the world, the basics they have is broken, which is they lie, they don't listen, they don't learn, they're lying. Basic is they will be always unpunctual. If they will sell you 9 p.m., they will show up at 10. They will say, oh, it's Pakistan standard time or Ghana standard time or Nigerian standard time. They will blame it on the whole community. They will not take responsibility of themselves. People, and that creates a problem for people who are learned, and they migrate to better countries, and those countries become richer, and the people who are from the poor countries remain poor because their value system is broken. If they fix their value system by force or by will, the whole country will fix itself, is my belief now, not even opinion, because I've seen it I've studied it so much about this. So I think that's very, very important to have proper ethics and proper value system. And unless we fix that, nothing can be done. So we must teach the value system. But again, the value system, there are certain basic value system like not lying, not hating, understanding the mind, and then they will evolve. The value system will also evolve. Like for example, right now the hottest topic in the world is the gay marriages. So it's something which will not be accepted in certain countries, and in other countries they will say it's basic ethics or basics of humanity. So it's a debate. One of the big reasons the autonomous car, the cars which drive itself, are not on the road is who will be fined or who will be punished if a car kills a human being. Because a car is driving itself. Will the programmer be punished? Will the company be punished? Which will the tire company be punished? Who will be punished? So that is why the whole system of autonomous car is not available to us, because of ethical values, not technological values. They're not allowing the car to come on road because who's to blame, as you can say, because everybody wants to blame somebody. Oh, it's his mistake. Oh, you have to punish this person. It's always many people's mistake. It's not one person's or one organization's mistake. But somebody takes a blame, and you hang them, and you're like, ooh, we hanged a person. We're so happy.
Solve the problem. Right. Yeah, but that's the problem, because there are so many religions and everybody has his own idea.
True.
I was just thinking this is a big problem. Yeah.
So live and
people
let
can
live.
agree to technology that.
I like the one of the solution which Slovakia has, that if you don't have 50,000 followers, you're not a religion. You're not allowed to be a religion unless you have 50,000 followers. So you can't be registered as a religion. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
So in Slovakia, there is no mosque. They don't allow to have a mosque because they don't not have 50,000 Muslims. So once there are 50,000 Muslims, they can make a mosque over there. Before that, you cannot make a church or mosque or something of that particular faith. In London, you go on one street has 3 different churches because there are Africans coming and making their own churches. It's a good business. So one of my friends who runs a large organization at Stanford, he said that there are 1,000 religions born and die every month. So if people actually knew that, they would stop being upset because it's another religion. It's okay.
I don't know. But in Poland, there have been Muslims, like, I don't know, since maybe 16th century,
So let's
because
stick
there
to
were
the
Tatars.
education because we will go into a different direction.
Another topic.
Yeah.
So, but I get your idea. So I understand that that's why you are traveling and participating in all those conferences, right? To kind of spread the idea of the new type of schooling, right? Or education.
I was traveling to
More or
learn,
less.
not to teach anything, but I think I'm ready to document I'm ready to share what I know. It's not perfect, but I'm connected to big enough crowd to explain, and I just released my first how to educate a child on Udemy course. It's only 40 minutes long, but it's in Urdu. So the idea is that it takes time to spread ideas, be it, for example, Protestant philosophy, but it takes one person, always has taken one person to change the world. It takes time and enough craziness in this person to do that. My whole work is about harnessing the craziness in that person and allowing him to stay focused on his craziness, on his idea, and giving him space to do that. So my interest in the work I do on social media is to allow different thinking, critical thinking, learning, coming out of the box, and that is all which I think you should do also in Poland in Polish, because that's what is bothering you, that people are becoming in a certain way. And the reason they're becoming a certain way is because the other side of the pendulum is not loud enough, is not crazy enough, is not educating enough the other side of the pendulum. So the reason the world became democrat or communist after the fall of the empires, everybody had kings before, and now the kingdoms fall down. Now what to do? So they chose democracy or the communism, most of the world. So wherever there was more believers of communism, or the boss was more, or the stronger person was communist, that area became communism based. So you as a Polish person can go out and propagate what you know in your language and teach others what you have learned over the years. A person who is 20 years old, 17 years old, 18 years old will not listen to you overnight, but they will still listen to you a little bit, just like your own children will not listen to you all the time. He keeps coming in the room, but he will still listen to you to a certain extent. And that's all we can do right now. We cannot force. You can either become a Tatari and start chopping off people's head if they don't listen to you, or use the fear, for example, or you can start teaching like Jesus or Muhammad or everybody else who was a teacher, to show them the light which you see. That's all.